So my name is Gayatri. I run this studio called the Yellow Sub Studio. It's been 5 years since we've started this practice, and so we specialize in more design-oriented architecture and interiors. So it doesn't matter about the scale of the project as long as it's more creatively challenging. So the whole idea behind setting this up was more on those lines, where we get to do different designs for different projects that we take on. We kind of tend to try and see where we can give our identity to each and every project. House that he had bought was a fairly old house. Now the site is located here with some lanes of shooting. The good part about this site is all of this is a dead end. So there was a cafe here and an apartment here, but there's lots of green on these sides of the road, including the side property. So our site was here, common wall in the middle. Now this is the house which faces the road. This area is a duplex, so to say. We have a ground plus one. Now unfortunately what happened is, since it was an 20 odd year old property, we could not bring down the entire so to say structure, so we had to retain the old columns and pillars and the slab structure, yet give a contemporary look to the front of the house, and which belonged to the client. When you see the images of the old house, basically it's an 18-year-old, 20-year-old structure which had two stories with a lot of ornamental work happening here, with colonial pillars happening and the column structure which it stands on. So what we did was, instead, to break down this front, to not give it that house look anymore, and we chose to make it into a nice cuboidal structure which is divided in two parts. So if you see, this entire portion would be a wooden clad structure, and this would be a more cement paneling work that is given to the whole space. When you enter, this was the entry basically. When you enter, there was a living room here. There was a spiral staircase that went from here to the floor above. Then you had a bedroom here. You had a dining room here, and then you had a small kitchen with a utility. And then this became like a extended part of the kitchen, because in the older times they had two kitchens. One was the servant's kitchen and one was the kitchen which the owner used. So this was kitchen number 2, and this was the living room. Now what we did was, the front facade, we divided this into two parts. We decided to break this bedroom and open this entire living room out, as the client, he entertains a lot of guests. So his requirements were, I need a much larger living room space and I need a bar incorporated in my living room. So we broke open this wall to the living room and we brought down this spiral staircase. And we chose to go with a more contemporary, like more straight lined and a glass and wood staircase. So what we did was, we retained the bathroom of the older house and made it into a powder room. This living room became a big living room with a staircase that led up to the second floor lounge and living room area. So we decided to incorporate a puja room. What we decided was, we chose the central portion of this area to become the puja area according to Vastu, because we broke this wall and we took this in and made this a part of your living room. This became the larger kitchen which was used by the wife. However, we didn't choose to close the kitchen completely. She wanted a more open sort of a look to the kitchen, a more contemporary look to the kitchen. So if this was the puja, what we did was, we opened this out and made this into a window which becomes a breakfast counter. And the puja then got incorporated here with a single door paneling. So when you shut all the doors, it almost looks like a wooden paneled wall. You will not know if this was a puja, if this was the entry to the kitchen. Everything looks like a flat wood paneling. And thus you also get a bigger and larger living room. There was a foyer out here, which we again brought into the living room. So your entry becomes a much more grander entry rather than have a wall between the living and the foyer area. So that was what we did with the ground floor. The client's family is a family of 4. They have a son and a daughter. So we had decided, since he entertains a lot, to keep the lower floor as a more social and a more gathering space, and hence we chose to keep all the private spaces above. We anyway had 3 bedrooms above, so we decided to retain those 3 bedrooms, however keep a small entertainment and a small family lounge above as well. The son's bedroom was here, the master bedroom with a large walk-in wardrobe. Now this was made. We chose to make this space because they wanted a nice walk-in wardrobe rather than the regular wardrobe spaces. So this became a nice large walk-in wardrobe space with their toilets in the corners here. This was the daughter's room with the toilet here. This is what we did with the floor above.